Okay.
record button. So yeah, no.
So on the usual timing, the class should be starting now, right? Like
7:30.
10
Yeah.
minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So UK time is always 7:30 UK time. So sometimes with this whole daylight savings, which is ridiculous, can throw off the site a little bit sometimes. So I'm not too sure why it's saying that, because my local time says it's 7:42.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure why it's
Yeah, my local time on the site is right, but the class time is wrong.
strange. Very strange. Oh yeah, look at that. It says 8:30. Why would that have changed?
Because I remember when I applied for the class, it says it should be starting like 10 minutes ago, but
Yeah.
okay.
I need to adjust this. So adjust time, adjust class time. I'm not too sure how to adjust it. I'm going to leave it for them. They'll change it. But yeah. So we may have a small class. Oh, hey. Oh, Isaac. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How's it going, Ben?
Yeah, good. So I think it says 8 o'clock on the.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was hoping you'd still be in here, but yeah, it looks like according to my schedule, it starts in 45 minutes. Not but if that's a mistake, we can get Manuel to update that. But you'll probably want to let everyone know.
Yeah, I've sent a message out. So we'll see how it goes. We'll stick with the 3 that we have here, or the 2, so I say, and hopefully some others catch the message and join in. If not, I'll have to catch them up on Thursday, and I'll just do a big.
Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully they'll be in a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's the first class, so everyone wants to show up early, like these 3 did.
Yeah.
Each other.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's just a general onboarding today, anyway, and get to know each other and what's going on. So they're not going to miss too much apart from just me waffling on for a bit.
I mean, they'll miss they'll miss hanging out with you, and they're in good hands here. So I mean, yeah. Anyways.
Oh, here.
Awesome.
Okay. Here, people are starting to pop in. So yeah, I've messaged Manuel about that. So hopefully he jumps in.
He should be able to update that. So awesome, cool.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Yeah, anytime. Take care, Ben.
Take care. Bye. All right, there we go. All right. Well, we can start. Julia's here. Brett's here. How are you doing?
Hey.
Hey. Did you message me ages ago, Brett, saying that you might not be able to make this class the first week?
No. I was unable to make the class, but I'll actually be away from work, so I won't have like my computer and stuff with me.
Okay.
So I actually did start the the running and jumping blocking.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. So I can just go ahead and critique that on Sunday, which is
Okay.
kind of like when we hand in for our assignments. I'll give it another 5 minutes. I can just start because I tend to waffle. So let me introduce you to myself. So how many people have actually let me open that up. How many people have done anim school already? Like, have you gone through the other classes?
Yeah, I did the first 2.
Yeah.
Yep, same.
Same. Yeah. Hey, Julia. Cool. And how much animation had you done before coming to anim school?
Very basic for me.
Same here.
Okay.
Basically nothing at all.
Cool. Okay. No worries. Well, okay. So I'll start with a little bit about myself. So I've been working, I think about, 15, 16 years now. I started, came out of school and didn't really have an idea about what I wanted to do. I had studied animation, but it wasn't really taught. The title was called animation, but really we learned modeling and some other lighting skills, and 3ds Max was the sort of software back then that we had used in the uni. So I started out as a runner at Framestore. They used to be called Framestore CFC, which are based in London. And a runner basically was a dishwasher, a gopher, go for that, go for this. And I managed to get the job in dispatch as well. So I could run around film cans around when people were still using film canisters around Soho. So that was really good to learn, kind of where I was at and learn the different types of people in the industry, because it's visual effects heavy, which is what Framestore was doing back then and still are. So it took me about 8 months of kind of shift works and slogging it out and speaking to different types of animators to kind of get my first gig on a show called Primeval, which is predominantly Jurassic creatures and some occasional weird hybrid stuff. But that was fun, and that was a big learning curve. And then from there, started making some friends. People were jumping ship, because that tends to happen a lot. People will chase projects, or you're just in for a very short amount of time, and then you kind of go, right, okay, go over there or go here. And in Soho, there's probably about 50 different types of studios just in this kind of 1 mile radius. So it's a very close-knit community of kind of visual effects and TV and all sorts of kind of film production going on. So a couple of my friends had moved over to MPC, the moving picture company, to work on Prince Caspian, Narnia, Prince Caspian. And it was my first gig at Framestore as an animator, and reality quickly hit in when they said, yeah, sorry, mate, but we're going to have to let you go. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I took it very personally. I thought I'd done something wrong. Later in life, you realize actually this just happens, that people expand and contract, because you can't have someone sitting there if there's no work to do. So anyway, I'd reached out to some of my friends, and they said, yeah, come on over. I didn't have a show reel or anything like that, so it was purely based on my friends' word of mouth that I got a gig there. So it was luck, really. So yeah, just got thrown in the deep end on working on Narnia, lots of creatures and flying and all sorts of things. Quickly realized that actually my stepped way of working, my blocking that I'd been trying to learn from either reading the Animator Survival Kit or seeing things online, really isn't the best kind of way to work for when you're working with live action plates, because directors can't tell what the hell's going on, especially if you've got smooth motion in the background, then you've got this creature moving across. They just don't get it. So you quickly had to adopt a completely different way of working, which is all spline based, almost taking a shot for blocking straight to final, all in one go. So you learn quick and make mistakes really quickly, but you get to see your kind of animation a lot faster. And that's what I prefer to do, is try and see the motion as fast as possible and kind of then refine poses as I'm polishing it and moving it along. So from there, I bounced around through a few different studios, working on like Hellboy, and then where else did I go? Into games for a bit, then back into work on some of the Harry Potter stuff. And then I switched from there to go and work in Previs. And on Previs, I got to work directly with directors and on-set visual effects supervisors. So we basically get the script and we try and distill what's going down in Word, and then block that out in the computer as quickly as possible and figure out all the different sequences. So I worked on Paddington 2, Fantastic Beasts 2, a little bit on Wonder Woman, and that was post-viz. So you do pre-viz and post-viz, and post-viz is usually after they've shot some of the movie. You'll get some of the shots back, and then you start doing like set extensions or implementing your 3D assets like characters or creatures back into those plates, so they can start seeing early screen tests and seeing how it's going to score with audiences. And then just the last film I worked on, which was about just over a year and a half ago, which was the latest Spider-Man. So we previs the I don't know if people have seen it, but a lot of the Hydra Man. So I worked predominantly on the Hydra Man sequence and figured all that out with a couple of other guys. Some of the Molten Man stuff in the kind of Slovakia, I forget where they are. Some fake world. So yeah, that was the kind of last film that I'd worked on, and then after that, I jumped over into VR, which is now what I'm doing. And I run a VR studio, and we create mental health products in virtual reality. So different conditions. We did one for fear of heights, which is more a slightly more exposure therapy version of mental health therapy. And we've done some trials. We've got this thing called the NHS over in the UK, which is kind of our national health service. And they've been trialing a product for people that suffer with psychosis at the moment. So people that are anxious to be in public spaces, or maybe they hear in voices. So we've created a whole VR therapy based around that with therapists. So fingers crossed, that's going really well. But I'm less on the animation side now, and more on the management side of things, as well as teaching you guys and girls, and trying to get still trying to keep my animation chops as wet as possible, I guess. But it's still good fun. But so I guess the kind of moral of that really is, I started out as a runner in animation, and now kind of swam loads of different circles, and now ended up actually running a studio for like a mental health service. So it's a very open-ended kind of career that I've had, I guess. But that's kind of me in a nutshell. Let me bring up this slideshow because I want to go across, share this now with you lot, and it'll be good to find out a bit about you guys. So let's start with you then, Evelyn, as you're at the top of my list here.
Okay, so I need to answer these questions.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a guide. You just spitball
Yeah,
whatever you want to
sure.
say.
So I am currently in Belgium. It is now 8:53 p.m. Sorry. And I am very happy to have a class time at a decent time for once,
Yeah.
because my previous two classes, the instructors were in America, so I had to get up in the middle of the night to do those.
Yes.
What made me interested in animation? That's hard to answer because I've always loved it, but I started in kind of a different study path. I did Japanese studies and cultural studies at university, and then I switched to a one-year course in 3D, which did not include an animation class. So I was really disappointed in that, and I really wanted to do some animation as well. So I tried some for my final project in that class, just tried to look up some tutorials and just do some animation just to have done something. And I had a lot of fun with that, so it kind of stuck. It was my first thought that might be the area that I was most interested in. And when I started doing some animation, it just, kept confirming that. And yeah. Nice. I just really love it.
Cool.
Favorite animated character? Ooh, I don't think I can answer that. Recently, I've really loved Frozen 2,
Okay.
and Elsa as well, as personal development, but also the way she's animated and all of that. Before that, it was Spider-Verse that I was really amazed by, as it was everyone. So,
Yep.
Favorite scene from what movie? CG or live action? Well, actually, recently I'm very much thinking of Frozen because that's the most recent one I've seen. The second one was, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the scene when she's at the dark sea and like running into the sea and battling that knock horse and everything. I was so impressed by that. That's my favorite scene at the moment.
That's cool. Yeah, it's great.
I definitely prefer feature animation. VFX is interesting, but not something I really want to do myself. Then previously worked in or studied animation, so as I said, I just tried some on my own during that final project of the class I took. But then that was it. I'm actually working in an animation studio right now, a small studio in Belgium, but I'm not doing animation yet. So they're helping me with paying for anim school as well.
Nice.
So they also know that the ultimate goal is for me to transfer to doing animation for them as well. So that's really cool.
What do you currently do at the studio?
What I currently do now is modeling for a feature film that we just started working on.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I did some 3D layout work and compositing, but like basic compositing.
Yeah.
for a TV series that was kind of cardboard cutout animation in Maya. So the layout was really interesting to do on that because it was kind of early blocking animation, kind of. I was already able to explore some poses and all of that,
Cool.
work with the graph editor and all that. But yeah, it was really simple because it was the cardboard cutout animation, so it wasn't full 3D, but still. So yeah, my future goal is I really want to become an animator in the studio that I work in. I would love for that to evolve to animation supervisor and director in the end.
Yep.
I think a lot of people might want that path. And then for the run and jump assignments, I have this scene from Gotham that I thought was a really interesting run and jump. I'll put it in chat.
Sweet.
It's the only thing is it's the jump itself is in slow motion, but you know, I think that'll be fine to adapt. I'm not sure if I want to have that ending because I don't know about having a second character in, so I might just have it that he balances himself out at the end.
Yeah, go with one character. So
I thought
what
the
would
jump
you?
was really interesting there.
Yeah. So what would you take from this? Excuse me.
As reference, you mean, or?
Yeah. So you've got a guy running to the wall, edge of the wall. He stops. He pauses. He anticipates. He looks across.
Well, I guess the part where he stops, I'm not sure if I can do that in 150 frames.
Yeah.
So I would just start, you know, with the run up towards the jump. That was my.
So from here, what you're trying to probably distill from it, because you've got to be careful with the slow motion action of the kind of cut that's going on, right? So you want to pick out of it some poses maybe that you like, but I would also use a piece of reference whereby you can see how it feels in real time, the jump across.
Yeah.
So you don't have to use that for your timing, just so it kind of imprints in the memory of like, oh, God, that's how the weight should feel. So that when you're pose testing out the character in Maya, you can pose it out with these poses from Gotham here, from your reference, but you'll have that timing kind of embedded in your memory of, okay, that feels the right kind of weight and the arc that I should be taking. Because a lot of the time someone might take slow motion reference and it's happened a lot. Your actual animation becomes too slow and floaty. So you've just got to be wary of that.
Well, I was definitely thinking about supplementing it with my own video reference, especially for the parts where, like when he starts running, you can't really see his legs. So I definitely wanted to do my own video reference for that. And then I can definitely make sure to have the timing in that as well. Yeah.
Nice.
But do you think it's a good kind of run and jump to?
I think the poses are strong.
Yeah.
And I quite like the camera cuts. There's probably, maybe 2 or 3 extra cuts that you don't need there. The only thing it's missing is you don't read the anticipation. And the reason you don't read the anticipation in the jump is because this kid is on a wire. So there's no reason for him to really need to, get that down pose before the extension up. With the bouncing ball, you have the bouncing ball and then you squash, you stretch, and then it leaves the floor. So we're missing that kind of squash down and then the stretch up. But on Thursday, Thursday is usually kind of like a demo or anything that you want me to kind of go over. And I'll go through kind of my thought process of how I would block a shot out for the run and jump. But yeah, it's the anticipation pose that a lot of people would miss, which is that kind of squash pose. So that's the only thing that's missing from this video reference.
Yeah.
But cool. Nice.
So I can basically maybe look up some extra videos of people doing parkour or something and then add that in. Keep kind of the feeling and the atmosphere of that jump.
Yeah, so you're better off exaggerating the jump at first, or exaggerating the down pose before you do the extension. And we can go over that a little bit more after we've gone through everyone. And I can show you some stuff in mine. Cool. All right, nice one. Okay, all right. Let's move on to Jason. I'll just say hey to Jesse. Thanks for joining.
Oh, hi. Okay. So the first question. Oh, so I'm currently in Singapore now. I'm studying in animation college, like not animation college, like art college. But like as you said, it's like the same thing you had before. Like although it's co-animation, but basically we're just doing modeling and texturing and rigging, like everything. So not so much into the animation. Yeah. So and yeah, the second question is started from a long time ago, but I don't really have a chance to actually learn to do animation. It was from like it was Minecraft was popular back at the time, and then there was a bunch of people doing Minecraft animation, and it looks really cool. And so that time was like, yeah, I'll do that in the future. Like it sounds cool.
Okay.
It's different from most people like Pixar, Disney, but yeah, that's my story.
Cool.
And the third one, I'll say is Frozen 2, because I like Elsa, because I don't really have much of memory of the previous animation, and I love the scene too, like what Evelyn says, the like when Elsa trying to run over the ocean. Actually, that's one of part of the idea for my run and jump today.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So the fourth question, the favorite scene from a movie. I'll say it's from one of the Coco, when both Miguel and his dad was under the, like when they all fall into the like really big hole there, like when they were talking to each other. I think that's my favorite shot somehow. I don't know why, but like I feel like the acting is really like natural, and then you can feel what the character is feeling there, and that's quite kind of my goal, because I don't know how to actually like make a character move like real human. So that would, maybe that's why I like the shot that much. And of course, I prefer feature animation more, because like I like the feature animation feeling more than the live action.
Mm-hmm.
But live action will be a really nice path too, like if I have a like some development on that part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the next question, oh yeah, so I'm studying the school, so I'm still studying right now. I still have half the year until I graduate, but we don't really touch on any animation. Yeah. So I want to work in the studio in the United States, but I heard the visa is quite hard right now, so that'll be a problem to figure out in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that gets easier.
Okay, so the last run and jump assignment. So I don't really have a video clip with me right now, but the idea would be at the beginning the character is trying to preparing out for the run, like doing like ready to go kind of pose,
Mm-hmm.
and then just start sprinting like really fast, and then at the end he just jump and then maybe do some like interesting pose in the future in the air, and then just dive into the bed. And then like boom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So how would you first approach like blocking this out? Do you have a set built, or do you just have some just rough geometry and you're going to go, this is where I want him to land and this is where I'm going to start? And then would you try and time that out based, because I'm guessing you don't have video reference that can kind of complete the entire shot, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. So how would you work out the right amount of timing and spacing? Would you just do poses and then just keep adjusting the poses and timing and adding more poses until you get it right? Or, would you use simple geometry to kind of just quickly do a straight ahead spline pass and then go, right, this feels good. And that's a nice piece of timing that I'm going to just now block my character based around that timing.
Actually, I want to do that because last time I went to the M School has the game animation like classes, like master class you can go, and then they actually introduce like you can use like a little cube as character and then just try to animate the energy first and figure out the timing and everything, and then do a character override that like box. So I want to do that this time because and actually I heard that Pixar they're actually doing more in spline than pose to pose, and then they actually move the character as a geometry first, and then they trans that to the character. So I wanna try that workflow.
Okay.
And I heard you said you work in spline too, right?
So there's a term that you can use in the industry called splocking. So basically it means you will have you start at frame 1 or 0 and you have a selection set for your character and you'd be like, there's my blocking controls, set a key. Then I'll move to frame 10 and then I'll repose and I'll set a key. But I can still drag my timeline and see the transition of the character because I've kept my keys, my tangents in splines. But I'm still blocking out my character in all of those controls. So if I want to change a pose or the timing of that pose from 10 to 12, I can do that quickly. So, and then I'll move on to the next key pose and then the next key pose. So I'm blocking in, but I'm not holding the poses in step keys. So I'm not holding from frame 1 to 10 and I just see a pop in pose and then another pop. Especially with body mechanics, because it's, I'm moving from A to B or I'm moving from A to B to C. There's not acting involved. It's mechanical. It's fluid. It's motion. So you want to try and see that motion as quickly as possible, so you can make the best timing adjustments. Right?
Yeah.
So that's how I tend to work more like that. If I am doing a more methodical kind of, I want this pose to be here, then I want the pose to be here, but to keep my splines always, so I can just dial my timeline back and forth, and I can see how the movement is translating through.
Yeah.
But the other method I do a fair bit as well is if I just need to quickly work out some rough timing, I can use a simple sphere or something like that and animate that and then go, yeah, that feels good. That feels like a good piece of weight for the character. And then I can just either pose on top of that. So I've got a 3D reference now, or I can just extract that animation, extract the curves and put that onto my character and then kind of use that as a starting point. There's like an infinite amount of ways. And I probably spent about 8-10 years trying to find out what is the secret source of blocking. What's the best way to block? There basically is no best way to block. You just got to find what your way is. Okay. So
because I find it really hard to do the pose to pose thing. Like I can do the pose, but like after I hit spline, everything just become really crazy. Yeah.
So a lot of the time is that people will do this pose to pose method, but they don't put enough poses in. So they turn it to splines and then it becomes very wishy-washy, right? Just everything's mushed and floating around. Blocking, I feel personally, I find blocking keys work really well if you want to do a subtle or an acting shot where you do hold your pose, right? Because when you do acting shots, it's more about how little you can do to sell the shot, not how much you should do to sell the shot, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Otherwise, you I don't know. You talk to someone every day, you barely move. It's more eyebrows up and down. Maybe some people are less like in the brows. But you go and do an acting piece on the stage, and then you're over gestating, right? Over exaggerating everything, and you wonder why you look so hammy. It's like this because it's not natural for you. You're overthinking about doing a performance. Whereas every day you're barely doing anything. Maybe a couple of shrugs. It's all here. The whole animation's here. So I tend to use step keys more for like acting shots where I'm not moving much, or I don't want to move. I want to hold that pose for as long as possible.
Cool.
Nice. All right, man. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. All right, Brett.
Hey, so I am in Philadelphia, PA. I've always been interested in animation. My dad actually wanted to be an illustrator when he was younger, so I'm kind of like following his footsteps. But he ended up not like completing classes and stuff, so he never was able to get there. My favorite animated character. I don't know. The first character that's kind of coming to mind would be either like Peter B. Parker from Spider Verse or Sully from Monsters University and Monster Inc. I don't know why, but those two are just the first ones I kind of picture whenever I think of animation.
Nice.
My favorite scene. I would say my favorite scene would actually be in Roger Rabbit when Eddie Valiant is like trying to saw the handcuffs off of him and Roger Rabbit, and like he kind of does the whole gag where he takes his hand out, and then he kind of just like messes.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. That whole movie's so good.
It's good. No, I got I was fortunate enough to meet Rich Dick Williams ages ago because his son was my anim supervisor long time ago on Marmaduke. Yeah, nice. He was a nice guy, a great guy. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hilarious. That piece is great.
Oh, it's the whole movie overall is like just everything's perfect. It's such a good. It's just such a good mix of like everything. What's the next one here? I guess I would probably say feature animation if I had to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to this class, I did take the 2 other classes here, and then I went to Penn State. And when I went to Penn State, they started a program called it was like New Media or something along those lines. And it was my first year there was their first year of doing this program, and they had like some animation stuff in there, but it was we were pretty much like guinea pigs. Like they didn't really know what was going on with the program, and we really didn't know what was going on. Like they kind of just had us sit at a computer and play with Maya for a few hours, and that was it. Like we didn't really learn much.
Right.
And then I actually went to Drexel for my master's, and they had in the master's program, it was mostly like gaming and coding, but it was supposed to be a mix between gaming, coding, and animation, but it really wasn't focused on animation. But I actually did do my thesis, and my thesis actually did include VR. So I actually did visual feedback in VR with the use of exaggeration. So I wanted to see kind of like what people enjoyed more or thought were more, I guess, like pleasing in VR. What else do we have here? I would probably say feature animation again, or TV. I did actually enjoy working with VR, and currently right now my job I'm working with AR stuff. So I feel comfortable with that kind of stuff, but I would definitely rather just do like feature animation. And for my idea, like I actually said at the beginning of class, I actually had to start that because I won't have a computer on me for the next about week. So I already kind of started that kind of stuff. And I still need to work on it a bit, but what I have right now, I'm actually got to go in and kind of redo the beginning because I thought it was only 100 frames and not 150. But I already have reference video of kind of me walking over, and I have like a small thing set up so I know kind of like what I'm looking at. Like I just have sticks on the ground to show like the distance I have to jump. So it starts with me kind of like looking over, and I'm going to kind of do like the scene as like a cliff or something. So I'm looking over, and then I take a few steps back, wait a sec, and then I start running, and then kind of just jump the actual distance itself.
Cool.
Yeah, so I just said that. It's nothing really, nothing too crazy, but I figured it worked.
Cool.
I do have that in just like pose to pose though. Is that okay for this? Because I know you were saying that kind of like you don't really use the pose to pose too much.
No, I mean at this stage we're only blocking. So the main focus on blocking is kind of do you have enough information to tell the story, right?
Okay.
And going from that into I think do you have a second? I forget how many weeks you get to. Let me just have a look.
It's 3.
Yeah. So what's going to make your life easier moving into splines starting next week, right? Because this first assignment's really quick, right? You get 3 weeks to complete the whole shot, and it can be quite a big jump going from class 2 to class 3. So it's, if you've put some poses in there, just turn on the splines and just do a quick play blast. How does, like, oh, I need some more information there. And then, okay, put it back to stepped, set a new pose, breakdown pose, and then go, okay, maybe that's enough, or, you know, maybe I need 1 or 2 more over here. And then just whatever's going to make your life easier transitioning into next week. But if you're not happy with the time in between poses and you've run out of time, just keep it into stepped, so we're not commenting on the transitions, and we're just focusing on the poses that you want to show off for your blocking.
Cool, definitely will do. Thank you.
Cool.
Cool. I think that's it.
All right, nice one. Thanks, mate.
Cool. Thank you.
Cheers. Okay. Hey, Julia.
Oh, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine. So I live in Kiev. It's Ukraine.
Yeah.
Today is Christmas.
Hey.
In our country. Actually, yeah, we have another calendar that you have. Well, I think I always like cartoons, but several years ago, I used to work in advertising agency, another area totally. But then, you know, we had some type of material to place it on TV from Hotel Pennsylvania, and it was like a small pop-up with kids, you know, that's running across the screen. It was like so fresh in our advertisement, and I think it's kind of cool to be able to do something like that. And then I decided to change my profession at all. In 2018, I had some classes in Ukrainian art school from modeling, texturing, sculpting, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they also promised to include some animation stuff, but the material was totally disappointing. And later I started to looking for a decent school. So here I am. It's cool. Yeah. A favorite animated character, you know, I like Klaus a lot. Netflix cartoon, not Netflix, but still. I know that this is 2D animation, but I really like it. And I don't know if I have like a favorite character, but from Klaus, I like Alva, the teacher. She's really pretty, and, you know, I like her character and her story. My favorite scene, you know, it's kind of difficult to tell. You know, yesterday I watched Marriage Story. It's a live action TV from Netflix, and I like this scene, you know, where they fighting, like acting moment, when like ex-wife and ex-husband, they arguing, you know, and they achieve some point, like where everyone is angry, and they just want to, you know, they feel sorry for their words they said before. It was strong for me, I don't know, and I really like it.
Yep, that's a good film.
Yeah, I prefer feature animation more, and before anim school I didn't have, you know, any experience in animating. Only modeling, texturing, this kind of stuff. Yeah, so I want to work in feature animation, but, you know, here in Ukraine we have more proposals for game animators.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, you know, how it will be in a year or two, but I like feature animation more. Yeah, and I'll also, you know, have like idea for our random jam assignment. It's not like do something crazy, I shoot a reference today.
Yep.
So I can put a link in the chat.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I started sketching something, but just turn it off.
Cool.
Yeah, I like these small bounces, at the end, and I want to keep it. And also my idea is, not to make this like all this ground. I just want the character to run on this small like blocks, like in games, and like these small islands. And I like in my idea they can like bounce from these steps a little.
Okay.
Like react to the weight of the character.
Great. I mean, I'm just going to use your piece of reference here just to explain, because sometimes a lot of people haven't done a run before, a run animation. I think in the previous class there was a walk assignment.
Yeah.
But the big difference two big differences in the walk. The passing position is actually kind of, you're upright, your hip is tilted nicely up, and the legs swinging through. Whereas actually in the passing position for a run, it's the compression. It's like the down position for the pose. So we've contacted here. We're coming down. The leg passes through, and then we extend out. And then also we've got to remember about leaving the ground and leaving the ground, over 1 or 2 frames, and transitioning, keeping the transition forward fairly linearly. A lot of people, when they start doing the run, they forget about that down position and they have the up as a passing position. So your leg is straight, and what it ends up looking like is, if you ever watch the back legs of an elephant run, elephants can't run because they're too damn heavy. So they just basically extend their legs out in straight lines, and it looks really awkward. They should never run. They just look silly. But so just think about that when you're trying to block that in. Which, I mean, it's good that you've gone through this, and I recommend everyone doing it, even if you don't use it. Any of these drawings for your kind of final piece when you get into Maya, anything you start doing and drawing, it kind of helps kind of by osmosis, getting into the brain and starting to figure out what kind of shapes and poses are going on in the reference. Cool, nice, excellent. All right. I think Jesse's next. Jesse.
Oh, there. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes. How you doing?
All right. Good. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks.
That's good. All right. So here we go. Where are we? I'm in Los Angeles, California. I'm originally from Miami, but now I live here.
Okay.
So, it's funny. I actually worked in film in New York for like 3 years, and it wasn't going so well. It was actually my mom's idea to try animation. It was kind of like it's like, oh, well, she didn't know anything about it. She's like, oh, you love computers? Because I grew up with love computers, and you love film, so why not try something like animation or something? And I ended up coming here and to Los Angeles and taking some classes at Noma School of Visual Effects to see the different aspects. And then it turns out, little did I know I was going to end up in actual like animation, like animating as opposed to something else. So it's kind of funny. And that's pretty much it. And ever since I started, it was kind of a fluke, but I kind of just was dropped into this thing. But I happen to love it, so that's good.
Cool.
Favorite anime character? Probably I don't know the character's name, but the Critique from Ratatouille is by far my favorite animated character. I think.
Which one is that in Ratatouille?
It's the guy who critiques the food. What do you call it? Blanking on the word. Yeah.
The really kind of gangly guy that kind of walks like he's Dracula.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the food critic. There we go, food critic.
Yes,
that's the term. So yeah, and I think he's I just think he's one of the most relatable animated characters because we all have like things in our past that make us like either good or bad or whatever. Just what I don't know, I just think he's very relatable, and also I kind of believe that when he drops that pen, it's probably arguably, in my opinion, like one of the greatest climaxes in like any movie because it's like so subtle. So, favorite scene. My favorite scene is from the 1990s movie, the Disney movie D2: The Mighty Ducks. It's also my favorite. It's also my favorite movie. People are always like, "How's that your favorite movie?" I'm like, I love that movie. I watch it all the time. It's my favorite movie. And the scene from it is when Jan is talking to Gordon, the coach of the Mighty Ducks, because Gordon kind of lost his way and
Yes,
he's just giving him a little speech. So it's like, "Oh, be that man, Gordon. Be that man." I was like, "Oh yeah." So, it's like
that is an old school movie right there.
Yep. So the first and the third one, I'm like, but the second one, oh man, like I love that movie. So, and do you prefer? I prefer feature animation, but past like 6 months, I have been dabbling in VFX. I've been trying to learn some of Nuke and some of PF Track and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm not really getting into it though, so I'll probably just let it go. I'm like, maybe I'll try, see what happens. Like, it's not going so well. It's going okay, but I'm like, I'll probably just focus on animation and call it a day. Previous work. I studied besides the classes at Noman for modeling and texturing. I also took an extension student. I took a traditional animation class. I actually took 2 of them. I took history and principles of animation, which it was cool because actually we had to drawing on the paper and scan everything in the computer. I'm not the best artist, but I did it okay.
Cool.
And then timing for animation, which is the more advanced traditional animation class from the first one, which is it's cool to learn like the traditional and how it all started. It was kind of cool.
Nice.
What was your future goal? I mean, I know a lot of people give this answer, but I'm gonna give it anyways. I just get a job, like maybe not anywhere, but like just a decent job. So I honestly,
Cool.
I mean, if I had to pick like where I want to work, I would say probably Sony Animation, or because I like the new stuff that's coming out, and so
Sweet. Nice.
other than that, I just like if I get a job that pays well enough to make a living, I'm like I'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Sweet.
Yep. And for the run and jump, I actually have reference. I just submitted it a little while ago. I could share the link if you want to see it. I was just gonna do just a simple like run to jump over like a broken bridge, nothing too crazy. So yeah, I could post the link if you want, or I could do that too. Yep, there we go. I actually had an issue because I didn't realize the first time I did the reference, I walked right out of the frame. I was like, oh man. So I ended up trying to shoot it again. I didn't jump as far, so I just try to splice the landing.
Yeah.
Combine it. So.
No, it's a good thing that I mean, I really enjoy video reference, and I think it's really good to analyze, but you don't want to be a slave to it, right? Because you could rotate this over the top with the animation rig, and you would turn the video off, and it would look weird. It just wouldn't look right. It would look floaty, weightless. So you have to push it, and you have to base your poses and the timing and everything what you're doing eventually on what the character is in your actual 3D set. So use it as a guide, use it on what it is good for, timing, nuance of what's going on inside the video reference, but then turn that sucker off, right? Just get the blocking done, turn it off, and then focus on what your character is doing. And you may want to adjust some timing after that anyway, because it just feels better. So I wouldn't worry so much that you had to just splice together some extra pieces of footage after the fact.
Okay.
Cool. Nice.
Awesome.
Nice
Thank
one.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to Justin. Justin seems to be next. Back here.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can indeed. Welcome.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'm going to be kind of quiet because my voice is messed up. I'm sick and my girlfriend is sleeping.
Okay, no worries.
So I live in Kyoto, Japan. I've been living in Japan for like 5 or 6 years now. It's really nice. Um, I What made me interested in animation? I mean, I've been playing video games and watching cartoons since basically my brain switched on when I was like 4 years old. When I was four for Christmas, I got Sega Genesis, and I remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog on that. Uh, but yeah, I've just been playing video games like my entire life, so I'm really interested in animation.
Cool.
My favorite animated character. I don't really have like one character, but as far as animation that like really stands out, like something I really enjoy. Um, I don't know if you guys know it or not. There's a fighting game. It's really popular in Japan. It's called Guilty Gear, and the newest game is it's got really amazing animation. They basically animated the whole game as if it's like a Japanese comic, like a manga or something.
Nice.
And so almost every frame of the game is made to work in 2D and in 3D. It looks really cool. I love the art style. That's been one of the like big standout winners for me as far as animation goes. um, Streets of Rage. Let's see. So, what's your favorite scene from what movie? So my favorite scene is not really from a movie. It's from a TV show. The fight scenes from, especially there's one fight scene. I guess people just call it the hallway fight scene from Daredevil on Netflix. It's a really long fight scene. So during the process of making it, the actor gets not like the people that are fighting, the main actor gets knocked out of the room, out of the camera, and another guy actually comes back in and takes his place because the stamina required for filming the whole scene in one shot is like so much that he said he could not do it.
Lazy.
And then,
Lazy.
yeah, exactly, ridiculous.
Ridiculous. How much are you getting paid? Lazy.
Yeah.
How much you be? Yeah,
And-
you're lazy, mate.
Yeah, and this is also ridiculous. He gets knocked out of another, like from the camera in like another view. And then I can't remember if it's the third actor or the first guy, but they switch actors again because it's just taking so much time. But that
Yeah.
fight scene is really cool. It's like, I don't remember how long it is, but you can find it on YouTube, like just clipped out. Like it's really long. So that's like one of my favorite scenes. I just love how long it is and like how much fight choreography there is in it.
Yeah, nice. See, if it was
Um,
Blade, he'd have a sword, it'd be over really quick, but he has to use a staff, so
Yeah. He's like, I don't really like the actual drama of the show, but the fight scenes are great, right?
yeah.
Like, it's so brutal. All right, so let's see. Do you prefer feature animation or VFX? So, I mean, I guess feature animation. I like both of them, but for me, when I'm watching a movie, I feel like it's really easy for the VFX to stand out or like not fit in with like the real world kind of filming around them. So when everything's animated, I just feel more comfortable. Like everything looks better to me. Like it's just a preference. But I do love VFX. Like the whole intro sequence in like Deadpool really stands out there. That whole first shot that's in slow motion as the intro credits roll.
Mhm,
That's a really cool shot. And I know that's all VFX. It's not all animated.
mhm.
Um, so prior to this class, I finished like one Maya animation tutorial before I started at Anim School. So like I'm comfortable like in 3D. Like I've done some ZBrush stuff. Like I did a lot of sculpting myself,
Mhm.
but I've never had any formal training in anything.
Mhm.
And then I sit down. I got hospitalized, and while I was in the hospital, I really like thought about it. I was in there for like 3 months, so I was like, I mean, I enjoyed character art and like character design, but honestly, I feel like I'd rather be the one that makes the characters move, that kind of like helps bring the scenes to life and things like that, more so than just the character itself. So I just started AM school like right after I got out of the hospital, basically. My future goal is it's definitely games. I would prefer to work in games. I would be open to working in any of the others just to get started, but the end goal for me is working in some kind of studio. There are a lot of really good Japanese studios very close to me in Kyoto. And then also, I mean, I'm American, so I could always move back to America. I don't know if that's a good option after the news recently, but to be fair,
far away.
Yeah, could get another job somewhere else too. But Japan's calm mostly. We just have like people escaping to Lebanon and stuff is no problem. No big deal in Japan either. All right, and then just for the ideas for the run, I don't have a reference or anything. I had some ideas. The Tokyo Olympics are coming up. I was thinking of doing like a long jump kind of thing. Watched a couple of movies recently. Saw some funny jumps. Watched a Will Ferrell movie recently. What is it? He goes back in time. The Land of the Lost, and he's running from the giant T-Rex. And he like throws his chubby body across this like gap. That was pretty funny. So I'm thinking of something like that. But for this, I had a question actually. So in our previous class, we really had to stick to the reference. Like we had to be like reference perfect. He really wanted us to be close to the reference. And I heard you tell someone else to just kind of use it as a base and then kind of go from there. So that's fine. I'm very comfortable with that. But we were doing 24 frames per second, and for our reference, it had to be like recorded in 24 FPS. Like we weren't allowed to convert it. So
the problem with like relying on video reference, and if you don't shoot it at 24, like say for example, you can find it on YouTube, right? There's going to be dropped frames. So if you are trying to pick out something that maybe it's a pose, and you use that and you copy it perfectly, and then you're playing through your animation, and then you get feedback, and you're like, well, it was fine in my reference. It's like, well, screw your reference. How does it feel on the character, right? Because at the end of the day, if you rely too much on video reference, what happens when you can't do a piece of video reference for a shot? What do you do then? What's your go-to tools, right? So it's using it as a tool and building up some knowledge and helping you, but you want to get comfortable with knowing how to pose a character, understanding what are the mechanics of certain things, a run, a jump, and kind of just practicing that over and over and over again. So then when it comes to doing a piece of animation, and you've been given some storyboards or a piece of layout, you can just tuck in, right? You could block it out. You could do a quick thumbnail pass. You could go out and run. But what if the shot's got to be done in a day, right? Because you're just on a fast turnaround on a TV show or something like that. So you want to start building up an arsenal whereby you don't need things to help you, because you're building the knowledge in here. You're comfortable with the character. But it's very good, and I will watch a ton of video reference, but it doesn't mean that I use it as my backdrop every single time in Maya, and then I'm just going pose that there, another 5 frames, then another pose, then another 5 frames, and another pose. It's slightly different for acting shots, because you want to get out all the shit, right? And if you try and do all the shit through posing, it's going to take you a long time. So that's when video reference is good. Just eliminate the turd. But you usually find that your first take's the best one, right? You'll do 50 different ones, and you'll be like, damn it, the first one was the best. Because it is, because it's spontaneous, so you haven't thought about it. It tends to happen, usually the first shot is the best one, right?
Oh man, I recorded so much reference last semester. It was outrageous.
Right. And and again, that becomes also a kind of bad thing, right? If you spend longer than 10 minutes doing a piece of reference, then you need to stop and then come back another day or a few hours later, because you're starting to overthink about, oh, what about this? Oh, what about if I did that one? What about if I did it this way? What if I did it this way or that foot? What if I leaned back a little bit longer and then went forward a bit more off balance? You know, it's like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's like just go with something, and then once you've got it on your character and moving around, you can adjust certain poses to like exaggerate certain parts, or just adjust the timing a little bit to get a bit more, you know, kind of anticipation. So you want to build up a bit more. So it's not just like 8 frames and then go. It's like, actually, I'm gonna hold it back for a second or another beat more, and then go with that. I mean, that's my thoughts on it. You know,
where were you 4 months ago?
Sorry.
Where were you 4 months ago?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, but it's. I mean, everyone has a different idea, right?
Yeah.
But
it was definitely good learning to work from reference.
Yeah,
like, it helped.
But I don't like teaching the class and going, this is how you should do it. You know, this is just, I can do it one way, I can do it another way. I mean, I like to try and show, you know, 5 different types of workflows that you can use that I try depending on what kind of shot I'm working for. But it's not my way. You have a good way, you do that, right? Don't try, if you find, if something works for you, don't then go and try something new, right? Maybe do something new in your spare time, but when you've got the assignments to do, go with what works for you. See what other people are doing, chat about yourselves, watch what I show, try a little bit, but don't go, oh, I like that. And then suddenly, you know, you end up with a really crap result because you tried a completely new workflow, and then it's, you know, affecting the grade. If you don't have something that's working for you, then by all means try anything that I show or suggest, or you see someone else have a go at. But yeah, so there is no good way, right? There are too many ways to do it. Just whatever works.
Right. Okay, and for the reference for this, as you may or may not be able to tell, I'm not a professional long jumper, but so like if I got reference from YouTube and it's like 30 FPS and I had to convert it, or like could I work in 30 FPS in this class, or are we still stuck?
I'll show you something that you can do, and it doesn't matter what FPS it is.
Okay, that would be great.
You can do stuff to the image planes, which means you can just readjust the timing to fit your needs. So you show where you want those poses to be.
Okay, yeah, I've done that before, changing the offset and adding like slowdowns and stuff.
Yeah, so you basically break the frame extension, the script that goes with that, and you just start setting keys, and you just expose those keys wherever you want them on the timeline. So you can adjust the timing on the video reference very quickly that way.
Okay, and then just one more follow-up. So that for video reference, I've done that. If I convert it to like an image sequence so that it runs smoothly, does it still work in image sequence?
Yeah, image sequences. I prefer to use image sequences.
Okay, great. That's all I got, man. Thank you very much.
Nice
to meet you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Cool. All right. I think we've got here Pushkar.
Hello.
Hey, man. Did I say your name okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I am from India. I have worked as a freelance animator for Indian cartoon series like Motu Patlu and all. But I wasn't so confident while doing that work, so I joined Anim School. So what made you interested in animation? Animated movies. In general, I like movies or stories. So that got me into animation field. Then my favorite animated character, there are like 2 or 3 characters. One is the monkey character, Steve from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh,
yeah. Then the second would be Miles Morales from Spider-Verse.
Right, yeah.
And then there are many more. Then the favorite scene would be, if considered live action, it would be the revolving room from the Inception.
Oh, right, yeah. Man, actually, my friend worked on that, and he had to go on set, and it was this humongous, I forget how heavy it was, but it was basically this massive cube cylinder that they could just turn and move around on this gyroscope. It was insane because it was all in camera. There was no effects there. Everything you saw was actually done. Maybe a little bit of wire work that they had to remove, but yeah. Awesome.
Similarly, I like the scene of Tesseract from Interstellar. Even that was created.
Yes.
The fifth dimension scene.
Yes. Nice.
Then I would prefer animation anytime over VFX, because I like to convert my ideas into something in video form, which I'm not being able to do in VFX. So animation. Then after this class, I'm I answered this previously. I've worked on Indian cartoon series like Motu Patlu, Chacha Bhatija, Shiva, and all. Then I have studied animation in a local class, but it was not very good. They didn't teach us anything. So my future goal is to work in movies, feature animation, because I have a cartoon series of my own. I mean, I with my friend have scripted it. We have like 20 episodes ready, and my end goal is to someday bring it into a actual video form.
Nice.
And then idea for run and jump assignments. I have like 7 to 8 ideas, and I'm confused between them.
Okay. Are they online?
Some of them, some of them are comedy, funny. First, and most of them are on the jump fails. One would be like basketball player runs and leaps in air to dunk the ball, but misses the hoop and crash lands face first on the ground.
Okay.
All the ideas are just in text form. I haven't
got
any video reference. Then one more idea I have is of a guy runs and jumps, but suddenly a portal kind of thing appears on the ground, and he he lands in that portal, and the portal closes. But after like a split second, the portal reappears in air, and then he jumps out of it.
Okay.
Then I think these two out of those 7 or 8 ideas are almost good.
Okay. All right. Whatever one you want to pick, that's up to you. The only thing I'd say, just this is across the board, is the class 3 for body mechanics is we're less worried about story and more worried about the mechanic of the assignment. It's when you move to the next class, then you start to implement some of the story ideas. Okay. And it's only because you're such limited on the amount of frames that you've got going on in here that to kind of do the mechanics, sell the idea, and get the story across is something's going to suffer, right? Either you've got a confused story idea and the mechanics are there, but you work too hard on the kind of focusing on a bit the story, or you have really good mechanics. And I think it's better off at this stage to really focus on mechanics, getting good feedback for that. If you want to spend more time on the story element, I would think more on the next assignment, which is the obstacle course, because you have, I think, 250 frames, 200 frames. But you get longer time. I think that's like 6 weeks worth of work.
Okay.
So that you have blocking, then you have another round of blocking, then you go into splines, then another round of splines, then you have your two weeks of polish. At which point you could just get mechanic down for here, the run and the jump, because you can translate that mechanic into the next shot. From what you've learned, and you can think more about in your spare time more about the story that you maybe want to do later on. So some of these ideas that you're implementing, How would you fit that into an obstacle course, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the run, the jump, goes through the portal, pops out, but then has to grab onto the cliff from somewhere else, and then he has to pull himself up and then move on. That could be cool, right? Because there you're implementing maybe a couple of different camera shots, and you got to translate to a different area. So yeah, that could be interesting. Anyway, get to think it that way. I just want to make sure that people don't focus too much on story just yet, and just focus more on the mechanic.
Then can I use a kind of parkour run and jump style reference?
Sure. A lot of people.
That would be.
I mean, it doesn't matter at the moment. I don't think what kind of reference you're looking for. You know, parkour is a very kind of obvious one. But honestly, simply running across on tarmac and then just jumping between two broom brushes, you know, two broom handles, or masking tape on the ground and then just jumping between that is more than enough to kind of get down what's going on. You know, watch loads of different types of runs and jumps, look at parkour. Maybe you want to implement some of the parkour where it's just a leaping motion, and then maybe the way the legs flick up really high and someone like compresses their body out, that like a long jumper, for example. And then how would you work that in? And then you've got to think about the pacing of the character to be able to, you know, you can't just have a really slow jog and then go into a pose like a long jumper and then land like you've dropped 150 feet, right? You've got to think about the energy that's going into the run, coming out of the run, right? And then how do you like slow that down? So there's lots of different things to think about, but go with what you feel like you can attack in the time that we've got, because we only have 3 weeks. It's really quick, you know, and we're already on Tuesday. First submissions on the Sunday, right? And then next week we're starting splines, and then so it's quick. Cool.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
No worries, mate. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, Ahmed, how's it going?
Hello guys.
How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, all good. Oh yeah. First, I'm from Gulf, Arab Gulf, Oman.
Cool.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah, it's Oman, did you say?
Yeah, Oman.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's almost on the coast, isn't it? Like slightly above, like near, is it near Dubai or just north of Dubai?
Exactly, next to Dubai.
Next to Dubai, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Really, I don't know what makes me interested in animation, but I started in college when I was studying engineering. I had to draw in AutoCAD, like 2D things. From that, I tried 3D, and I took different paths from that side. What is your favorite animation character? The character, every season I will pick a new one. Like last movie, Spy. I really enjoyed watching the nerd one, the science boy.
Right.
I'm not sure if his name Aaron. I like Doctor Strange from Marvel. And in same movie, I like the looping shot when he was challenging the time, I think.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, he challenged the time, and it's looping again and again. I really enjoyed that scene. In 5, I prefer both. I cannot choose. I prefer VFX and feature.
Cool.
So I can't pick him.
That's fine. Do both. Work in everything.
Exactly. I have 1 year experience in modeling. I learned from YouTube, and here I'm learning animation.
Cool.
My goal is to be a freelancer So I need to cover everything I can do in CG,
Cool.
animation and modeling and everything. Now in assignment, I have a small reference, just a rough one. A guy will wait.
Mm-hmm.
The scene will be in the road, not here.
Mm-hmm.
So he will wait. Then he will stop here.
Mm-hmm.
It will be like similar to this road, like a water underground on the road. So he will challenge the water and he want to jump above it. Have you got the idea?
So he's going to stand next to the edge of the road,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you will
then
see the water.
some water's traveling along.
No, it's standing somewhere on the road.
Okay.
So he
So
want to challenge it and jump through it. Then he will fall.
okay,
That's it.
cool. So yeah, I mean, I think I get what you're saying. No better way than just get a blocking, like a quick pose test of some actions, whatever 3D set you're going to build. Kind of try and don't concentrate too much on getting the perfect environment looking great. Just simple cubes or spheres or cylinders are just perfect, because you can always swap those environment pieces out later on and just allows more time to focus on what your character should be doing and performing. So I would go ahead and just kind of use all this as whatever parts you want to grab. I wouldn't try and idle for too long. Get straight into the run and then transition into the jump. And then would you have this kind of stumble at the end? Or would you
No,
have
I will choose different falling.
Okay. Cool. So yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you. Okay. Now, what's the time? So, regardless of what Anim School site says, make sure it's 7:30 in the UK, which is what the correct time should be. So I don't know what the difference is based on all your different locations, but it should be 7:30 in the evening, 7:30 p.m., which is the class start time. And I think they managed to have a little cock up there where it says 8:30, but that will be Thursday will be the next class. I just wanted to go over a couple of other things so you guys feel confident to get up and running with your blocking. So everybody knows it's 150 frame cap, and you use the simple characters, right? The block character, the tub, cue ball, whatever it is in that list. So we can get up and running with that. Everyone confident with the Anim School picker? Yeah, all right. So I can share a couple of things. The only extra thing I did with the Anim School picker was to throughout the whole semester. Yeah, just keep an eye on the site because they might change it back to 7:30. Just make sure it doesn't cock up anything on your end, because I have messaged them about it. So this is my scene. Very simple environment that I grabbed from Anim School site. That's all it is. The block character. The only difference I did with this block character is I just colored the legs. I find that's quite useful for students to do as well, because it's quite easy to give critiques back instead of saying the right leg. What do you mean screen right? Do you mean his right? No, I mean the red leg. It's quite quick to kind of give some reference back there. I like to break my scenes down and clean them up. So any cameras that I've got, I put under a group, environments put under there, and my reference footage is also in a display layer over here. When I make display layers, I tend to put an underscore in front because Maya, I don't know if it still does, used to have some really weird issues with names that mean the same and the amount of display layers that you were using, which meant as you were animating your character, even though you would select the kind of body control here, it started to disappear or move away from the body. So you couldn't actually select the character where it was actually selecting. It was like being left behind, some graphic thing that was being a real pain in the ass about. So I tend to put my reference kind of, or anything that I add as a display layer with an underscore first. I've got this very simple piece of geometry here. I'm just gonna, not geometry, reference. So this is the reference footage that I've got. And it's nothing amazing. I'll just play it through. Just this person, if it's not going to play through, because I've turned the expression off. I haven't. Okay, I'm just going to drag it because I think graphics card is starting to shit the bed a little bit. It's not. I'm going to hide the video for a second because it seems to be a bit funky. Come on, video reference 314. There we go, right. So, very simple. And I kind of roughly lined it up to fit my geometry. On here, right, just to give myself a quick rough. Why is that playing so slow? I'll stop sharing for a second because I think my graphics card is starting to crap out on me. There we go. Okay. Bring it back. This. Anyway. Do you guys use the free image plane, or do you attach your video reference by doing a duplicate camera and then doing the image plane this way? Which way have you done, both or?
I use the second way.
Second way.
Me too.
Same here, yeah.
Yeah, same.
Cool. So the only good thing about having the separate image plane version is that if I show you my camera here, I've got a camera over here. This is the set. That even if I rotate, even if I move my camera, should I say, if I rotate my camera, unlock. The video reference should always be pointing at me. Lord, what's going on here? Anyway, I have an aim constraint set up on this group above. So when I move my camera around, it's supposed to show that it's moving back with it and rotating, because you can see here that this is set up here. Usually second, right. This is kind of a bit of a mute point. Basically, this is what I've set up, and I can share this scene with you if you're struggling to have a scene set up for yourselves, which will be easy to do. So what I was mentioning earlier was the idea of breaking the expression here. This is the expression that comes in when you use the image sequence tick box, right? So if you delete that, it breaks. Nothing's going to work. So I tend to set a key, and then I'll go to, you know, say frame 100, and I'll just type in 100, which will jump that frame up. It decides to wake up. And then if I open up my graph editor, it's made a curve. What I do with the curve is set it to pre and post infinity, but linear. So these two buttons here, you can find them underneath. Curves pre and post infinity cycle. Yeah, so linear. If I drag through here, kill that. I've got my playback happening here. I think it takes me, I think it's about frame 96. But what I can do through this now, if I come over here and have my key selected on here, I have these turned on. As another side note, actually, is the sync timeline and graph editor tick boxes, which allows me to see keyframes along here based on what I've selected. So as you can see, the keys have disappeared because I have no keys set on here. If I click it again, I've got it here. It's a nice way to go about and try and filter through where have I keyed it on my X, you know, Y rotate, X rotate, and also it will reflect in the graph editor as well. So as you can see, I've got nothing selected here. Go back onto that one that actually have a key. I can filter quickly through the graph editor that way as well. Be wary though, because you might start setting keys or moving or shifting keys around with only a single thing selected, right? So if I unselect from that and then reselect it again, if I have nothing selected, it's going to show me all the keys on that object. Side note, if you don't like using it, just untick these. If you're not used to it, that's fine. So I can select my frame extension number here, and I can come through here and I can start plotting out some key moments that I want to record, right? Just kind of finding some kind of poses. Like that. And what that allows me to do is start to flick between them, right? I can flick between them and I can say, okay, that looks like I'm describing the arc here, and then some compression, another step, passing position, air pose, contact. So I can go through that and I can start kind of, I'm almost doing my keys, my storytelling poses, my block. And if I just quickly put another one in here. What I can do with this is I can set that to step keys, right? And now when I watch this back, I'm only going to be exposing my, you know, storytelling poses, my blocking poses that will eventually be on my character as well. So I can see if I'm happy with the timing, you know, do I need to shift anything over? And then from here, I can actually start moving this over. So I can start to see whether actually, maybe that felt a bit better based on the space of the gap. Maybe that's what I should be doing, right? Having a bit more hang time in here, right? And then slowly getting up into the air and then faster coming down. You know, maybe I want that to be slightly slower. So I can shift that a couple of frames. And then what I can do, instead of having my playback in the background linear, I can actually start using this as my reference now. So that's a very quick way to kind of retime your video reference. It was used a lot on, I think, Hotel Transylvania, because they wanted live action video reference, but they had to speed it up based on the kind of cartoony notion of the show. You can always still set it back to splines or linear splines, and the computer will naturally, it will somehow figure out the in-between keys that it needs to have there for you. So you'll see that sometimes the frame might be hold for a few moments. So this is another reason why sometimes video reference from the internet isn't always the best, because actually, if you're a real stickler for copying every single piece of video reference and putting it onto your character, that you might find that actually this pose and this frame hold for a long time, as you can see. Right? Everything's holding when I skip through frame by frame. And therefore you might be making mistakes unnecessarily because you're copying your video reference too closely. The other thing I want people to make sure that they're aware of is when you've got your controller set up here, that you give yourself the kind of easiest way possible to animate the character. So I want to animate going across this Z translate, right? So when I start setting my curves on my body controller here, if I select the channel box, I'm still moving in that same direction, right? Whereas if I turn it this way, right, and then I animate my character back, and now I try and find my Z channel, right? There's my Z channel. But if I use my object, you know, in theory, I'm using my Z channel, right? But what you can see here in the channel box is you've got Z and X battling between each other. So you try and clean that curve up in the graph editor because it's going to look like that. You think that you're just like cleaning up the Z and trying to make that nice and smooth. But actually what happens is, you know, your character is going to start going off in a weird direction. So it's always best to, it cost me so much time not being that great yet. Yeah, so you're better off getting your kind of parent control set up from the get-go. Right? If I wanted my character running off that way, right, in this direction, then point the character in that direction to begin with, right? Because now if I grab my Z, I'm now heading in that direction, right? So it makes sense. So when you go to clean up your curves, it's just going to make more sense. Other things you can think about doing. So you could think about either using a method that's probably been shown to you before, whereby you start the character here, or you know wherever that character might be starting, and you set a key, your first frame, you move it, move it across. You find out another frame, and you move the character there. Next pose, you know, here, next pose, right? So you're moving away from your master controller. Or you could instead, if I just kill the keys on here, I'm going to pose my character out, you know, based on the video ref, whatever that might look like. But instead of moving the body control through space, I'm going to use the master control. And now I'm going to put my character here, and then I'm going to do the next pose. By doing that for your blocking, it means that you can share poses from previously earlier timeline positions, right? Because if I wanted to share a pose, say I've got this pose, right? Set a key here. I'll just reset that over here. So I've got that pose there, and then I've got, you know, I want to take this pose that I had originally, but I want to put it on frame 30. If I had not used the master control, it would copy that pose across in the rotation and the translate of the Y, but if there was any keys on this, it would then pull the character back in space, right? So you might have a really nice pose that you like and you've worked on it, it's, you know, taking you half an hour to do, and you're like, that's really cool. And it's the, you know, the way that the left leg is forward and the right leg is back on a transition through the run phase. But then I want to use all those poses again. You know, your feet are going to ping back to this location from where you've copied it from. Your arms are going to move back if they're in IK, your body. But actually, because I've built it on top of the master, all that curve information is actually relative to there. So if I want to copy a pose from earlier on, it's just going to snap back into that right position based on the location where that master is. So it's a very quick way to block out. It was something I could show you on Thursday in more detail. Another option that you could do is you could, first of all, build a run cycle, right? So you could work on a run cycle, you know, 24, 30 frame run cycle, 12 run cycle, depending how fast the character is going to be going. look at what the video reference is first, or not at all, because you don't care for the video ref, you're just looking at it more of a time guide. You could work on a run cycle in a completely clean scene or in this scene, get that right, and then apply it to your character in your scene. Use the master control to move it through space and time. And then use animation layers. And in animation layers, you would then be able to start blending in and out of the run cycle, moving into a jump, and then back into the run cycle. There's another option. Has anyone used animation layers for like blending in cycles and quickly blocking out a shot that way?
No.
No?
I've heard of it, but never done it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you've all probably seen a lot the kind of, my master controller's over here, and I'm going to move my character 5 frames, pose the character, another 5 frames, pose the character, so you're just stamping it every 5 frames, right? It's probably kind of normal workflow that everyone's done. The animation layer system is extremely powerful, but there's a couple of technical steps you want to go through, and then once you're happy with that, you kind of flatten it back down so you could then polish up all kind of any type of feet sliding or anything like that. I will try and show you a final one that I've done before using that system.
I had a doubt. If we animate the master control while running, won't that create a slide?
Potentially. But you shouldn't be concerned about that, because there's a tool that I like to use. Either you guys can grab it, or if you use Animbot, there's another version that we can use through here, which allows us to extrapolate the animation off of the master and then put it into world space.
Okay.
So now you can leave the master controller on its own over here, and then you can animate the rest of the character through space. So I'm just going to open up this shot and see if this works. Okay, so what I have going on here is a run cycle. Okay, so if I find my blocking set, so something I recommend doing with the anim picker is just setting up a quick selection set here. So you select the controls that you want to use for your blocking, and just so if you select a multiple amount of controls and then control right click and say add one button, it's going to create a button based on the selection that you had. So it's a quick select. If you make a mistake, just right click it, control right click, sorry, and then just do delete button. So that's how I made this. I just selected all these controls, and then I control right clicked and said create, add one button, just gave it a name, and it just allows me to quickly work out or block out the shot. So these are the keys that I'm using for the run cycle. Just these few many keys, and it's getting me through all of this. And I'm just using the master control to kind of block that out, and then on an animation layer, using the weight to blend in and out of the jump. So if I go to the jump area here, so you can see this is set to 1. If I come back, what would that be? I think it's probably here. It's 0.9, 0.2, 0.7. So I'm slowly, there you go, 0.0. So this layer above there, so this is where the run is. And I've got a jump piece of animation, which is just this piece here. I'm blending up into the rundown poses that I've kind of put in. So I'm turning off the run cycle. It's still playing in the background, but I'm just overriding it with this weighted layer here. And then I'm blending it back up again, right? So I've blended the weight down, back into the run cycle, so I can continue my character running off. So I've got, what, 20 frames plus another maybe 25 frames for the jump, and it's allowing me to quickly block out 150 frame shot. So it's, it's rough, but it's given me a quick idea of, what the piece could look like If I go to my camera view, so off. So just really quickly blocking that out. So if you're interested, I could show you how that workflow works. If you're interested in those, but it kind of just shows you that there isn't a one way to do one shot. Different animators wear different hats. Some people will block all the way in step keys all the way down to every 2 frames because they just want that kind of level of control. I think Jeff Gabor is a huge proponent of kind of stepped poses. But then you have someone like Mike Mikowitz from Pixar, who's a layered animator that will work on one element of a time and then do lots of copying and pasting of curves across the whole body. If you want to learn to use it anyway as well. So animation layers are a good tool to get into, especially for quickly kind of working out ideas and blocking a shot there. So maybe that's what I'll show on Thursday, how we can use those. Cool. All right. I'm going to have to call it a night there. I know for some of you that may be a shorter class today, but maybe that's a good thing for those that aren't feeling that great and it's a late in the evening. So I would recommend starting your blocking, start building your scenes. If people want the scene that I've built for the run and jump, then let me know, because it's just one less thing that you have to worry about doing. And yeah, just start trying to block it out. If you want to show me some rough blocking on Thursday, let's do that. I tend to do less about theory of animation because you can read that in a book and there's plenty of that shit online. I'm more about getting you lot to do as much animation as possible and giving you as much feedback as possible, because that's the only way you're going to learn and get better is by doing it. And I think the old school guys used to say there was about 500 drawings and bad drawings that they had to get out before they could start being good. It's kind of like that with animation, right? You just have to keep doing it till you feel comfortable with it. But I think that's the best way to do it, really. Cool. All right. Well, if you have any questions, or if you have a question now, feel free to shout out. But if not, you can always message me and I'll try and get back to you as fast as I can. And yeah, someone got a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Regarding the layers that you showed us just now.
Yeah.
Can you zero the weight on jumping? I want to see how it looks with full running.
Okay, so let me just quickly share my screen. You must also remind me if I forget to share screen because I tend to do that a lot. So this is the shot, right? So this is the jump portion here, and the weight is set to 1. If I turn it back down to 0, the character's blending back into its 1.
How it looks with full running?
Yeah, so it's blending down. So here you've got layer mode is set to an override. Usually when you do an animation layer, it sets it to an additive. But I've set it to override. So it's basically, when it's set to 1, it's taking over the base animation layer. When I set it to 0, it's going to play whatever is in the bottom there. So here I've got, it's doing this. Right. And
okay. Can you play it now?
So it's going to be a bit screwy. So hold on, let me just, basically if you want to find the key on it, it's set to this. So if I just delete this key and set it to 0, so there's no jump in this animation whatsoever. It's just doing this. Okay, that's the animation. Now if I just turn this to 1 for the whole thing, so so basically this has a little bit of a mixture. This hasn't just got the jump mechanic in it. I was showing, I think, a class previously how you can use the master control block on top of it. Here, this is my master controller here, and I can copy poses, right? So I'll just quickly show you how that works. So if I select my blocking set here, but I like this pose for whatever reason, but I want to have it at frame 60. So I can just middle mouse click and stamp here at frame 61. If I drag that, now I've got that pose, right? It hasn't pushed back over here, whereas where I stole it from, right? Because I stole the pose from here and I've put it on frame 61. Whereas if that wasn't under the master, this whole character would have slidden back, would have gone back over here. Right. So that's where it becomes quite useful technique to do. And then once you're happy with that, so you blocked it out and you kind of flatten everything down and you're happy, there's a tool that I like to use called from EB Labs, and I forget the name on the website, but if I just type in EB Labs, EB Labs, it's called the World Space. So what this will allow me to do is extract the animation that are on controls that are driven by the IK, really, because these are the ones that are in world space or have translational data on them. You know, FK arms don't have any translation data on them, so we're not worried about them. And I can plot this into world space. So what this means is it's going to take the animation outside of the rig hierarchy here. It's going to create new controls, and it's going to paste those animation back onto those new controls and constrain the objects that I've selected. By doing that, it allows me to delete the animation off of this place control, so it will no longer move the body. So if I just do the body, and I just quickly run it through, right? So the body now is constrained by this new object. If I move the place control, I'll just drag this through. If I move the place control, it's going to leave the body where it is, right? So it's no longer in the hierarchy of this rig, that body control.
Okay.
Right. But it's very, non-destructive. So I can just kill that control. And the animation is now back on the hip, not on the body control. It's a very good piece of work. I like it a lot. But anyway, I can go into more detail with that on Thursday. But if you feel like that's a workflow that you want to adopt, I definitely recommend getting the tool. Otherwise, you have to write some scripts and set up locators, and it becomes a slower workflow. I do what works best for me in terms of time, so I can get the animation done as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, so I can get out the door at 6 and be home, be toasty. I don't want to be spending, sitting there till 11 or 12, which is what I used to have to do because everything was just a slog. So anything I can do to make my life easier, I'll do it. Does everybody have Animbot, or have you not? Yeah.
I have 8 tools.
8 tools, okay. Yeah, I know that students get Animbot for free.
But the lights are not working yet.
The license aren't working yet?
I tried. They're saying you have to wait 1 hour, but nothing happened.
Oh, okay. I would email admin, because it should be working now. They should have been activated. You may have to just deactivate and reactivate. I don't use everything on Animbot, but there are some very useful tools that does make your life a lot easier. And I tend to use more of it when we come to do the dog walk, because we're doing a cycle and copying and pasting across from different sides. It's a lot easier to do it using his tools. It's one of those things I'm always very cautious about using a tool, because what happens if I don't have access to it? What happens then, right? So be cautious of what it can and can't do, and always kind of try and figure out an alternative to it by doing it manually if you can, because a little bit of technical knowledge as an animator, especially in 3D, is going to help you a lot. So over the years, I've picked up a few scripts that I've written or picked up from other people, and they've become invaluable. Like Tween Machine, for example, that was a big one. But anyway, progress. So yeah, I'm more cautious with plugins rather than just simple Python or mail scripts. Plugins because they're a lot harder to get into a studio potentially. So if you work at a bigger studio, they might not like it because the way that they set up their variables are shared across the whole studio. Whereas if it's just a Python script, usually if they don't have locked internet, you can just pull it and just install it on your machine only, and that becomes part of your workflow. But if they have locked internets, you might have to get them to go in through their kind of security procedures and then just give you the Python script. But so plugins are a more difficult thing for bigger studios to allow. So don't rely on them. I know pretty much every studio has brought artists and Inbot, so I wouldn't worry too much about using that if you want to use it and get used to it. But I use it cautiously. Tween machine, the mirror function, the reset button, just small things here or there. There was so much in it that you barely touch because I don't know what it does, and it just doesn't suit my workflow. So I only use things that suit my workflow. But that's it, really. Any other questions before we call it a night? No, you're all good. Cool. All right. So I'll see you back here on Thursday, where I'll go through a kind of blocking workflow demo of the run and jump, and go through anything that you might have already kind of wanted to show or video ref. But definitely try and get some video ref up tomorrow, just because then it means you can just jump straight into your blocking, because as I said, it's quite a fast turnaround. So in terms of hand-in dates on the Sunday, if everyone can make sure that they hand it in before 5 p.m. UK time on Sunday, that'll give me enough time to look at them, grade them, and then get back to you lot on Tuesday for review. Cool.
Cool.
All right. All right. No worries. If anything, that's in January, Justin. So every Sunday, 5 p.m., if you can kind of aim for that as your kind of submission date and time, that would be great. And yeah, just remember to 7:30 UK time for our Tuesdays and Thursday classes. What time is it in the UK now? It is, what is it? It is 9:30. Cool. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we almost got everyone here. I think there's maybe two or three people still missing, but I'm sure they'll join in on Thursday. Cool. Well, like I said, if something pops up in the meantime, just drop me a message on the Anim School website, and I'll try and get back to you. Sweet. All right then. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you Thursday.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.